Hello and welcome back to another Parry This History video. Today we are continuing our series exploring the real-life history behind Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with a biography of possibly the most famous historical figure shown in the game, Jan Žižka. Here is your spoiler warning. Everything in this video is based on the real life of this real historical figure, so anything I say may be a story spoiler for KCD2 since the game is also based on real-life history. So with that out of the way, let's dive on in and learn about the famous military strategist, innovator, and battlefield commander, Jan Žižka. Jan Žižka z Trocnova a Kalika, better known simply as Jan Žižka, was a Czech military leader and Hussite general who rose from obscurity to become one of the most innovative tacticians of the late Middle Ages. Undefeated in battle, even after losing his eyesight completely, Žižka is celebrated as a national hero in the Czech Republic and is widely regarded as one of the greatest military commanders in European history. Jan Žižka was born around the year 1360 in the village of Trocnov, located in the Kingdom of Bohemia, in present-day the Czech Republic. His family belonged to the lower Czech gentry, or the zemany, carrying some local prestige, but possessing only modest estates. Historical sources revealed little about Žižka's immediate relatives, aside from the fact that he had siblings. His brother, Jaroslav, and his sister, Anežka, are the only names known to historians. The family coat of arms includes a crayfish, symbolizing their minor noble status. Few reliable details survive regarding Žižka's youth, and accounts frequently rely on later chronicle traditions and legends. One such tradition claims he was born under an oak tree near his family's land. Documentary evidence from the late 14th century indicates a man named Jan, called Žižka of Trocnov, appearing as a legal witness in 1378. Scholars continue to debate whether this individual was the famous commander himself or perhaps a relative. If it was indeed the future Hussite general, it suggests he had reached legal adulthood by that time and had already entered local affairs. If not, he likely came of age in a period marked by political strife, aristocratic feuds, and growing discontent with the church. By the early 1400s, Žižka appears to have experienced financial difficulties and engaged in complex property transactions. Documents from the period of 1378 to 1384 show him struggling with long-term money problems. References to a wife named Katerina indicate that he may have been married at least once. However, after 1384, Žižka disappears from surviving records for nearly 2 decades. Historians reasonably surmise he may have turned to a life of a mercenary or soldier for hire, a common occupation for minor nobles who lacked substantial land or wealth. The first decade of the 15th century places Žižka in a murky light. He appears in the Black Book, or the Acta Negra Maleficorum, of the Rosenberg estate, accused of banditry. His involvement in outlaw activities is generally linked to an ongoing noble conflict between King Wenceslaus IV of Bohemia and the powerful House of Rosenberg. The Rosenbergs had amassed large estates, worsening social tensions and potentially encroaching on lesser nobles' property, possibly including Žižka's. Denied justice through legal means, Žižka and his followers resorted to violence, raiding and holding travelers for ransom. This private war against the Rosenbergs and their allies may have reflected a combination of personal vendettas, economic necessity, and the chaotic nature of Bohemian politics at the time. Žižka's fortunes changed in 1409 when King Wenceslaus IV issued him a pardon and even referred to him as faithful and beloved. This unexpected royal favor hints that Žižka's outlawry may have had a political dimension, as the king's decision likely arose from the complicated power dynamics in southern Bohemia. Žižka soon seized an opportunity to hone his military skills abroad. In 1410, he fought as a mercenary for the Polish-Lithuanian alliance against the Teutonic Knights at the Battle of Grunwald, also known as the Battle of Tannenberg, one of the largest and most significant medieval battles. The victory of Poland-Lithuania over the Teutonic Order broadened Žižka's tactical experience and his familiarity with large-scale warfare. After the battle, he is recorded in service at the garrison of Radzin. This formative combat experience would later prove invaluable during the Hussite Wars. By 1411 to 1419, Žižka was back in Bohemia. According to later chroniclers, he served Queen Sophia of Bavaria, wife of King Wenceslaus IV, as a chamberlain. During this period, the religious reformer Jan Hus preached in Prague, challenging church practices and corruption. Žižka, stationed at the royal court, may have attended Hus's sermons at Bethlehem Chapel alongside the Queen. Though direct evidence is sparse, this association suggests that Žižka absorbed Hus's calls for reform and the radical notions that would ignite the Hussite movement after Hus's execution in 1415. The political and religious tensions in Bohemia, fueled by Hus's condemnation and execution at the Council of Constance in 1415, finally exploded in 1419. On July 30th of that year, a Hussite crowd in Prague attacked the new town hall in the infamous First Defenestration of Prague, throwing councillors from the windows and killing them. This shocking event triggered the Hussite Revolution. King Wenceslaus IV died shortly thereafter, and his half-brother Sigismund, a staunch Catholic, sought to claim the Bohemian throne and suppress the Hussite heresy by force. Disenchanted with compromises and determined to resist Sigismund's forces, Žižka left Prague and joined the more radical Hussites at the newly founded stronghold of Tabor. There, in the early spring of 1420, he emerged as one of the 4 elected captains, or hetmen, of the Taborites, the most radical faction of Hussites who advocated total separation from the Church of Rome. Though often outnumbered and initially underarmed, Žižka proved a visionary commander. At the Battle of Sudemer in 1420, he led an outnumbered Hussite force of peasants, including women and children, to victory against heavily armored knights. By choosing a swampy terrain that neutralized the knights' cavalry charges, Žižka demonstrated an unorthodox and adaptive approach to warfare. His innovations did not end there. Žižka introduced the use of war wagons, or the Vozova Radaba, later known as Wagenburg fortifications, on a wide scale. These modified farm carts, reinforced with planks and iron, mounted small cannons, handguns, and crossbows. Positioned in carefully chosen terrain and chained together, they formed a mobile fortress, both defensible and capable of sudden offensive maneuvers. Inside and around these wagons, Žižka's troops, often simple peasants armed with flails, pikes, and repurposed agricultural tools, could hold off knights in full armor. Žižka also was an early adopter and innovator of handguns and field artillery. He integrated firearms into his armies, anticipating by centuries the combined arms tactics that would dominate later European battlefields. Under Žižka's command, the Hussites repelled multiple crusades, launched with papal endorsement, aimed at crushing their heretical movement. Notably, he led the defense of Prague at the Battle of Vitkov Hill in 1420, and won a decisive victory at the Battle of Kutna Hora in 1421, where the Hussites' field artillery played a critical role. In the course of the early campaigns, Žižka lost his one remaining eye. He had already lost the other eye earlier in life, though the exact circumstances are uncertain. Despite now being completely blind, he continued to lead his armies with undiminished tactical brilliance. Neither disability nor adversity derailed his career. He overcame internal Hussite strife, dealt with extremist sects like the Adamites, and still defeated foreign and domestic enemies repeatedly. The Hussite movement was not monolithic. It consisted of multiple factions, from moderate Utraquists who wanted a reform but not a total break with Rome, to the radical Taborites who sought a new, purer religious order. Internal disagreements periodically led to civil war amongst the Hussites. Žižka fought not only against King Sigismund's Catholic forces, but also against rival Hussite groups. In these internal conflicts, he remained tactically unassailable, defeating Utraquist nobles and Prague's men in several engagements. Attempting to strengthen the Hussite cause and secure a stable throne, Žižka took part in negotiating with foreign royalty, suggesting candidates for the Bohemian crown who might unite the Hussites. However, these attempts never yielded a stable political solution. In 1424, Žižka led a campaign into Moravia to confront Sigismund's supporters. During the siege of Přibyslav, he fell ill and died on the 11th of October 1424. The precise cause of death is uncertain, but modern historians consider a severe infection, such as carbuncle, the most likely culprit, rather than plague or arsenic poisoning, as earlier speculations suggested. Folk tradition claims that Žižka, on his deathbed, asked that his skin be used to make a drum, so that he could continue to lead his troops even after death. While this is almost certainly apocryphal, it reflects the profound respect respect and devotion he inspired among his followers. His troops, bereft of their beloved leader, mourned him as the father of the Hussites, and began calling themselves Sirotki, or the orphans. Žižka's remains were originally interred at the Church of St. Peter and Paul in Koslov. However, after the Catholic Restoration under the Habsburg Emperor Ferdinand II in the 17th century, his grave was destroyed and his bones were lost. Žižka's successes confounded contemporary militaries. He combined infantry, cavalry, and artillery into a cohesive tactical unit centuries before this practice became standard. Despite the era's technological limitations, he anticipated the principles of mobile warfare, using wagon forts as a form of proto-tank defense. His name is closely associated with the introduction or early refinement of important military terms. The Czech word pistola, or whistle, gave rise to pistol, and the word hufneis, or crowd disperser, evolved into howitzer. The Hussite Wars continued after Žižka's death under leaders like Prokop the Great, but his legacy as a commander who never lost a battle endures. 200 years would pass before European warfare assimilated his methods, notably during the early modern period under generals like Gustav II Adolf of Sweden, or Gustavus Adolphus, often known as the father of modern military warfare. Today, Jan Žižka stands as a paragon of strategic innovation, adaptability, and unyielding determination. Jan Žižka's life and career unfolded amid religious upheaval, noble factionalism, and widespread dissatisfaction with the Catholic Church. From relatively modest beginnings and a difficult youth overshadowed by legal troubles and mercenary service, he rose to become the most feared and respected general of the Hussite Wars. His unconventional tactics and ingenious use of gunpowder artillery and wagon forts revolutionized warfare. The undefeated, blind commander who stood firm in faith and strategy is celebrated as a Czech national hero and is ranked among the greatest military leaders in all of European history.